underneath Center City Print in downtown Scranton. I'm Rich Howells, the founder and editor of NEPA Scene, and tonight we're here with Eric Abyss, the vocalist of Scranton metal band Traverse the Abyss. They're organizing and headlining the first ever Scranton EclipseFest this Saturday, April 20th at the Moon Tavern in Dixon City. So we're going to talk about this new event featuring 11 heavy bands on 2 stages, how Traverse the Abyss earns slots at major festivals like Louder Than Life and Incarceration, building a strong social media presence and a loyal fan base, putting together local shows as Sled Dog Entertainment, breakdown of their latest singles, and much, much more. So please stay tuned for the full hour. We would love to hear from you guys down in the comments below. As I mentioned, Traverse the Abyss has a great following, so let's show that in the comments. If you guys have any questions, anything you want to add to the conversation, anything you want to talk about, you went and saw them, you had a blast, you've been listening to their music nonstop, whatever the case is, we want to hear about it down below, and we'll get to those later on in the show. Before I dive in, just want to thank Center City Print, who has provided this amazing studio space for us. Center City Print can bring your ideas to life in 3 locations: Scranton, Kingston, and Hazleton. These one-stop shops are locally owned and operated, offering high-quality printed products, copy and custom print services, and design solutions to help you, your small business, your nonprofit, your band, your photography, your art project, or any venture thrive. Visit them now at centercityprint.com and use promo code NEPAScene online or in person for 10% off. We also want to show off our new feature, Ink of the Week. I'll put that up on screen here. I want to thank Electric City Tattoo, also in downtown Scranton, for being the first tattoo shop in the area to participate. This week's piece is by Pete Farrell. I had a great time at the Electric City Tattoo Convention last weekend. Our producer this week, Jordan, I believe, was there too. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
We give the producer a little mic every once in a while. We had a great time. Chatted with a lot of local shops in the area, so hopefully we'll have some other shops participating in future weeks. Fingers crossed on that. And let's get into the interview. So, Eric, when did you start making music? Did you get interested? When did you get interested in music initially?
When I was a kid. Mom would always have music playing on, Queen and Guns N' Roses, all good stuff like that. My uncle was diehard Metallica fan, so like heavier rock kind of stuff was always around, Rolling Stones. So I kind of grew up into it and always had interest, but I didn't really start like venturing into like learning instruments too much until my early teens. And we went to Rockstar and Mayhem Fest 2008. It was the debut year for that, and that was like the deal sealer for like I want to play in a band. Like,
okay.
That was the experience. That was the one. That was like, yo,
the one at
like,
at Montage.
Yeah, Slipknot's my favorite band, and they were the headliner that year. So it was like it was random. It was freshman year. I looked on computer class when Slipknot was playing because I never saw them in concert, and they just announced Mayhem Fest right around that time. It was around my birthday, so I was like, this is like. The stars have aligned, and then lo and behold, that like whole experience just that kind of changed it. That just made it like, wow, I like that's what I want to do. You know what I mean? That the spark began.
When you do a band that a lot of people recognize, that people see as successful, I don't think they often see all of the things that you had to do to get to that point, all the different projects or things like that. Can you talk a little bit about maybe what you did before Traverse the Abyss and how that kind of led you into that band?
Oh yeah, man, longevity for sure. We were doing a group called Without a Martyr, and that was years ago. That was like 2012. I graduated from high school in 2011, and within that year, it was starting to form a band. It was starting to go to college, and then what I was initially going for, I was like, I don't want to do this. And then it was could just do electives, and I was like, no way I'm paying like all this money to go to high school when I was never at high school to begin with. I'm like, that's silly to me. And
yeah.
then it was just the focus of music. It was like, man, I just want to do stuff with music. So just trying to learn the instruments more. I was getting more into guitar, a little bit into bass, and I locked in with my friend Phil, and he was like the first drummer that I got to collab with. So we linked up, and then that was the early kindlings of Without a Martyr. Not too long down the road, Mike White came into the picture, and that's where that bond came. That had to be end of 2012. Mike came around, and we've been doing music since.
Okay.
So we did Without a Martyr until that died off, and then we spent some time in a group called Threat Point, which were a bit older of guys than us. Me and Mike were in our early 20s, and Chris was exactly 20 years older than I was.
Okay.
So he was 41. So, and he's been doing it, again, longevity. So it was cool having like these older heads in the scene that were able to kind of like mentor us and be like, no, you guys were doing this wrong. You gotta do it like this, man. You know the Chris James voice.
Absolutely.
So
yep.
we
And
got
that is
we
a
went
pretty
through,
fair impression.
we went through like the Threat Point boot camp for
Okay.
like 6 months to a year, and then we went our separate ways on my part, and not too long after Mike did too. And I was kind of like irking at him. I was like, yo, let's go, because we enjoyed doing Threat Point, but it wasn't our band.
Right.
You know, and it was fun, and it's not that we didn't appreciate it or have like a love and passion for it, but it wasn't our group. And like still just the reminiscence of our first band. It was like, what if we take like what we learned from these guys and be able to like apply it to ourselves in our own group? So eventually Mike left, and that was the startings of Traverse the Abyss back in around this time, March, April in 2016.
Wow.
So-
So you guys are, I mean, you're coming up on 10 years pretty fast.
Which is insane. If I believe correctly, even Motionless and White, they were a band for like 7 years or something like that before they started to really get their
That's
pick
true.
off.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. There's a lot of groups like that they were established for a long time before they even had that debut record, and they're regarded now as like, oh man, they're old. And it's like, yeah, but they also were doing it
Right.
for a while before that too.
Yep.
So yeah, 2016 was the start of Traverse the Abyss, and we kept everything on the down low. We didn't play a show until we had our stuff recorded. We had CDs printed, we had merch ready to go, and then it was the rollout, the unveiling. We did, and then since then we just been going and going and going. Members came, members went, new ones came in, and here we are in 2024, and it's recapping off last year, which was like the largest year we've ever had, and definitely grateful, extremely grateful for all of our fans and all the new ones that we met, and just all the opportunities that people saw in us and believed in us and allowed us to.
What do you attribute the longevity to? Like, what do you think? What has made this continue even through changing band members and things like that?
Well, I joke about it all the time. It's either passion or stupidity. There's sort of the other.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a love for doing it, and like it's after this long, I feel like it's like almost it could be like in a bad sense too, but I feel like it's almost like all that I've known. Like almost all the connections I have with people have stemmed somehow from music or from the band, and it's just like completely engulfs your life. But also I allow it to, maybe selfishly, but I allow it to. But I feel like that passion, you know what I mean? It's just heavy music has always been something I've been attracted to as well. So doing a festival, circulating and highlighting heavier bands,
And you have quite the interesting vocal style, and you've kind of expanded that across, several releases now. Do you have to do anything to kind of keep your voice in shape that you're able to? Because you're going from growling to screaming to there's some pig squeals in some of those songs. So
dude, yeah, that's a lot of people
gotta be a
ask
strain.
with that stuff too, just because they think screaming as in like angry, yelling and
Yes.
everything, and it's like completely opposite. It's very,
Not if you're doing it right.
it's more like a very relaxed, meditative, like almost think of your diaphragm as like an accordion. You know, you don't take the accordion, just smash it closed. You want to expand and let it go, and then build it back up again, and then bring it down, and kind of work it with that. So definitely preparation, a lot of water, Gatorade to help kind of like keep the sweat in, but you have to stay hydrated, otherwise once your throat gets dry, it's not a fun game doing vocals. But that's like the double-edged sword of it. I love doing it, but like, man, the maintenance versus like, man, I kind of wish I could play the bass a little bit, but because it's muscle too, you know. I mean, like, you're not going to just go exercise without warming yourself up. Like, at least stretching, and same thing, you got to stretch out into your throat, your mouth shape, your tongue. Then you have to circulate, get you nice harmony in your breathing, make sure you're not breathing in your chest. And then I like to smoke, so it's like, you know, cut that out a little earlier just to make sure my bronchioles are open and get nice big releases. But yeah, there's a ton of preparation just even going into it. Anyone that has interest in it, honestly, Melissa Cross, the Zenith Screaming DVDs. That's like the best $20 you'll spend on Amazon. She breaks everything down in like street lingo. So it's technical stuff, but the way she delivers it, it's like, oh, all right, like, I got you. That's not too bad. And then you feel that difference, and that was a big one for me, even just going from Without a Martyr to Traverse the Abyss. And after the Threat Point was I started doing the Melissa Cross tapes, and that's when it was like, holy shit, like, this is much more dynamic and powerful.
So you have 6 members in the band now, which is pretty crazy. Is that I don't want to say you're like the manager, but it seems like you're the one who's kind of organizing maybe everybody, putting it all together. Is there challenges to that, or?
Oh, absolutely. The more hands, the more, more cooks in the kitchen. But it has its ups and downs. But like, we tried to make everything very democratic. Like, everyone has votes on everything that we do. So it's, and try not to, like, if people are feeling negative towards something, we try not to like veer towards that route or make them feel like they're in a position, which is tough. Same with scheduling, because half of us have kids, and then birthdays, significant others, the whole work. So it's like, and that's what I feel like this year we're doing a lot of learning, is just like a bit of the balance, because last year was so bang, 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 and we have new music that we're looking to record. Well, we're looking to release. And it's finding the balance with that. It's, like I said, it's double-edged sword. There's some things that it's like, man, having 6 guys, holy fuck. And then other things it's like, this is a blessing, because you gotta figure cost-wise, you're cutting everything by 6.
Sure.
Which that brings it down. Or like, sometimes, depending on what it is, sometimes we'll use a bit of the band fund too. So we'll be dividing it by 7. So some things that might cost a bit more on our end are hair cheaper. And then musically, artistically, that was something we always like tossed the idea around, and it just kind of came into play, and we rolled with it, and it's been working since. So shout out to Nick and Justin for hopping on board.
But it looks. I think what, at least from an outside perspective, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like you guys are just having such a blast on stage, and it just it comes off in the music, it comes off in your videos, it comes off at your live shows. So like, I guess that would make it a little easier. The fact that it seems like you guys get along, and you're having a good time, and you're not taking yourselves too seriously.
Yeah, for the most part, like with every human,
You're gonna have
butt heads over, and again, the more people you have around, the more
more opinions,
slight disagreements or little stupid things. But yeah, for the most part, we get along really well, and mainly just fuck with each other, just like constantly, and that's what keeps it fun. We're all like giant children with each other. So it's sometimes on the bus it feels like a little kid and you're having a sleepover with all your friends and you're all drank too much so and you're all wound up, except there's no adult to tell you to knock it off. Except maybe Jamie. He'll be on the phone playing RuneScape like, guys. But nah, for the most part we're all pretty good with each other.
Well, you mentioned the last year being pretty crazy. Want to get into, you played Louder Than Life and Incarceration. How did you even get to that point? Because I'm sure there's some people that aren't familiar with the whole contest element and all that kind of stuff that came into play there.
So that was a whole insane thing. So we'll pull that back to 2022. Justin and Nick were still relatively new to the group. I actually don't know if Justin was even with us at the time. It might have just been Nick. But our friends Nailbite, this is actually when I went and met them as well. They were playing a show, and our friend Nick Myers, he's a promoter for 717 Entertainment in Central PA.
Okay.
He posted that there was a show going on and that this would be a good one to go and network at because the owner of Blackcraft was going to be there as well as other people for the industry. And I was like, something in my belly is telling me I should go to this. And it was on a Thursday night, and it was like typical day job. We all work Monday through Friday and then leave Friday to go do band stuff. So it's like, fuck, like I was at practice and I was telling the guys, I'm like, I don't know if anyone's able to go with me, but like, I feel like I got to go to this. And none of them were able to actually swing it with their schedules. And I went and I told Miranda, I was like, I feel like I got to go to this. So after the work the next day, I tried to get out a little earlier, took a quick shower, and I drove 2 hours to Harrisburg. And JB Love Drafts, there's two of them. There's the Micro Pub in downtown like Harrisburg.
Okay.
And then there's Love Drafts Brewery, the Brewing Co., which is in Mechanicsburg, which is like 5 or 10 minutes outside of the capital. But yeah, I drove to the wrong one. I walk inside, I'm like, it's really quiet in here. There's like not as many people as I was expecting. This is strange. And look, the bartender was like, "Oh no, you're at the wrong one." So
oh jeez,
I got there and was just hanging out with everyone. It was a bunch of people from Central PA and like in the band scene was there too. So it was like cool to recap and see all of them, catch a couple of bands playing. And I was doing my basic marketing. I usually leave business cards littered all over the place on the bars and whatnot. And this was right where leading up to the Smiling and the Suffering release. And I had some physical copies of those printed. So I was handing those out to a couple people. And I saw this taller dude with cool guy blonde hair and a bunch of tattoos. And I'm like, this guy seems important. I'm like, flatter me. And I was like, so I walked over. I'm like, you probably don't give any sort of fuck, my dude. But my band has a CD coming out. And I was like, if you want to check this out. And he's like, I actually give a lot of fuck. He's like, we have a whole channel where we play unsigned bands and whatnot. And
okay.
He was like, yeah, blah blah blah, and walked away. And one of the other people was like, you were talking with Bobby? That's the owner of Blackcraft. And I'm like, what chances are that?
Right.
Like I looked at the guy and I chuckled and I was like, he got cool guy haircut. Like I'm sure he's important.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he's the owner of Blackcraft. But later in the night, we were walking by and they were doing the stream that they have for DW Presents, which is Danny Wimmer. He's like the largest concert talent buyer in the country, which Louder Than Life, Incarceration, Welcome to Rockville, Aftershock Festival. Like he just acquired Rocklahoma as well. He just scooped that one onto his belt. But they were doing their live stream with a couple bands like Nailbite and Fate Destroyed, FDS, and I was walking by and Bobby yelled over to me. He's like, you with the band. He's like, you come over here, plug your band. So he brought me on the stream and let me plug the band. And they kind of had like a little bit of a bond after that. So after that, we started being active in the DWP Twitch channel, which that's live stream broadcasts. You, just like this, engage with people right in real time. And they were doing like Battle of the Bands brackets to get bands festival time slots at Louder Than Life and such. And we we got in the mix. I was posting our name and being active in the chat, and I was at my grandmother's house helping change a light bulb, and I had the stream playing in the background. I heard them. What was that band that we met in Harrisburg? Just Traverse the Abyss? Why don't we play their stuff? And I'm like, ooh, so I'm like trying to get the light bulb done in my car. Like, okay. But we got into the top 8 to play at Louder Than Life that year. And then it was towards the end of 2022, one of the representatives messaged us and they said, hey, we're doing another one for Incarceration Festival. And that's close to you. That's in Ohio. You guys should submit. And I was like, I was submitting anyways, but that was like a cool reassurance.
Yeah.
And we did the submission, and it's pretty basic. They put they'll play a minute of your song, a minute and a half of your song, and then they put the chat in a yes or no, and that's how they take their submissions. If you get the yes, blah blah blah, and then certain bands they'll give a golden ticket to. Like if they felt like the chat was being biased, or to counteract when bands will like gang up against competitive bands.
Okay.
We've seen and had the results of like people being malicious like that towards us. Like it is what it is, but like that's why I hate the term battle of the bands, because I feel like people stop networking and they get the claws out. Everyone wants to do damage to each other. But
right.
We did the submissions on the DW Presents, and for Incarceration, the stream cut out, and I remember we got voted no. And we were driving in the car, Miranda was jamming out, and I was watching the stream, and all of a sudden I look down and I see our lyric video playing, and I'm like, ooh, fuck. I'm like, they're playing our stuff, and it was like, we got voted no, and I was like, it is. And Twitch runs ads if you're a monetized channel. And I heard something about golden ticket, and an ad came up, and I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me, you gotta be kidding me. And I come back on, and they're like, is Eric still here? And so I did the thing, and they actually had me call the studio and tell them why we should get a golden ticket. Sell your band for us again. And
shit, that's so much pressure.
yeah, I'm in the car, like on the spot, like, and they're like, yeah, pass golden ticket. So we got into the bracket, which that was like a one and done thing. I think there's 8 bands, and they'll break it down 8, 4, final 2. And we put in the work because we saw how close we came with Louder Than Life earlier that year. And just to get like how exciting it is, because it's, dude, like your heart goes for those, because you only get a minute in the polls that will put this band versus this band. That's only a minute long too. So you're trying to be like, social media wise, you're messaging your fans and blah blah blah, trying to promote, trying to keep them engaged, because it's an intense hour or two.
Right.
And they came through heavy for Incarceration, and that's how we ended the time slot for that one. And that was in July 16th, Mansfield, Ohio. And sure enough, our first time at like a major festival, like not disregarding anything that I'm doing, but this is like couple hundred people. That's like 20,000 people.
Right.
Like, it is insane how packed these festivals are. And sure enough, we're playing on the same day as Slipknot, and I was like, that is like the most like way of the star, like, you know, I mean, will of the universe, ironic way for me to be like, okay, what I like, keep doing what I'm doing.
Yes.
And because they usually let you take one festival, so like if we won Inc., you're not able to submit until the following year.
Right.
But because we won on December 22nd, we were eligible for another one in 2023. And again, by some fucking crazy voodoo magic, our date that we got, again, the bracket for Louder Than Life, because that is the country's largest rock metal festival, period. That is like 80,000 people, something insane. Like it is massive. But the bracket for that came up, and this is actually where we were targeted. We got voted no, and it was, I think Josh Balls gave us a golden ticket on that one. He's like, no, I was at Inc. I'm in the local scene with these guys. So like, shout out to Josh and Bobby, because both of them separately gave us golden tickets, and they're like, I don't see why you guys are saying no. But it was us, another band. Like, we got all of a sudden like a giant impulse of no the next band up had which was one of the bands that we beat for Incarceration. They had a giant thing of Yes. Okay. And then our friends Fight From Within, who also played at Incarceration, they had a giant, almost mirroring our No.
You were No.
So it was like both of us had 86 No, and then the band in between us had 83 Yes. But luckily we both got golden tickets to get into the bracket, and our bracket date was like a week and a half after Incarceration. So like, however that worked out, thank you, because we were able to do Inc. We got all these new fans from there, and they came back, and we pile drived the Louder Than Life one. And again, that was like, I was humbled by how many people showed up, and just like, people are flat out saying like, "Oh, you guys are cheating" and whatnot. And like, it's because it was
a lot. Yeah, I remember those finals, because I'm not a Twitch guy for the most part, but I was like, I'll make an account. I wanted to kind of see how this worked, and I obviously voted too, but like for the most part, it was kind of like, how does this whole thing work, And I was just I was blown away by how many people came out for you guys. How do you build an audience like that is that loyal, that is also going to go through, like, this isn't just like, oh, could you go and click this one thing? Like, this is something they got to wait for.
There and engaged.
You have to be engaged during a live show.
And I think that's the word of it, is engage. Is we don't like hide from our crowd. Like, we're pretty transparent about everything that we're doing, and we're always in the mix. I was talking with the podcast on Monday, and same thing. She was like, "I was one of the things that won me over about you guys is like, you all are just out there, just hanging out with everybody, having a good time." And I think that goes back into like, we just enjoy music. We enjoy the social environment of shows. We like watching the other bands, and then on like the nerdy side of it, we like seeing, okay, what gear do they have? Oh, that's cool. Like,
yeah,
I like, or like frontman ideas. When I see that'll sell me more on a band than anything, is if they have a good frontman or front woman and they know how to control that crowd. I'm like a puppy. I'm like, you could be as crappy of a singer as you want, but if you got them in your pocket, then.
Are you like taking mental notes when you see
absolutely.
Stuff like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. My thing is monkey see, monkey do my way. Because I don't want to copy. I want to take an influence and then add my flavor to it. So that was always like my perception on that. I was like, cool, I liked how you did that. How could I do that in my way that's very organic?
And I remember too when I was reading, some of the, because you guys keep, like I said, you keep pretty engaged on social media and stuff, and there were reviews from these festivals coming out, and you guys kept just getting mentioned over and over, and that's for a band that isn't like main stage or whatever, like that's noteworthy in itself. But a lot of people were like naming you like band of the day that I saw and that sort of thing, and like that's got to be flattering. And
shout out Joel from Metal Injection.
Yeah.
Joel is the man, and that was the cool thing with like Incarceration and stuff like that is like the backstage area. It doesn't matter if you're like a smaller band or you're Motionless in White. You know what I mean? Like, the only other exceptions was like Limp Bizkit, Slipknot and stuff. They had a little bit more of like a space for themselves, but like for the most part, like you were just right in the mix, and that's what I loved even more about it, is I didn't feel like just because we played the smaller stage that we were like any less of a band. Like, we had people like from different publications that we've been reading forever, like going out of their way and to come watch us, and that was just us hanging out and just being friendly and passing cards out and stuff like that. One of the coolest and weirdest, funniest interactions we had was Eddie Hermida from Suicide Silence. He walked out of the one trailer where the bathroom was, and we're just sitting there eating, and he looks over and he's like he knew us forever, and he tots over, "Yo, what fucking band are you guys?" And Traverse the Abyss, "Yo, you guys are playing on Sunday with our boys, Last of Our Kind. They're from SoCal with us. You guys should link up with them. Yo, POD's on right now, so I'm gonna go check them. I'm gonna sing with those guys a little bit, but yo, I'll check you guys later, man." And we're just like,
what just happened?
Yeah, like he was like shocked, like, oh my god, I haven't saw you in forever kind of deal. And I was like, I've been listening to that band since I'm like 14. Maybe not with him as the vocalist, written with Mitch, but like that was just a cool experience there, hanging out with POD. Talked with Jose Mangan for a little bit, but like he's busy.
Sure.
Like when you want to say someone's busy, like that man is busy.
Right.
But even louder than life, like the section where there we did interviews with Dean Piper, Studio Gaveta from Brazil. They were cool. They were our saviors because Louder was a bit tighter with interviews, and we played on Thursday, and that's a 4-day festival. So there's a lot of people in the media area that were like, we had people back out on interviews. We have open spaces and whatnot, and we were like, we just want to talk. As much as like it was cool getting to experience the festivals and like see the other bands and stuff, like that's where we were like, this is where we need to make connections, because you get to talk, then you get the write up from Metal Injection and stuff, and it's like, because we sat there and chatted with them and earned and like made that connection relationship. We had, I think there's 1 or 2 public like photography publications, and they're major. If you're at a DWP festival and you're doing photography, like you were big.
Sure.
And there was 2 of them that got Gideon. We had like, it was just a small stage, and we just had a line of all the photographers, and they're all laughing. They're like, I think you got everybody here. So
that's pretty
shout out to my crew as well for like just networking and being friendly. And that's the other thing too, that's a giant misconception I'd like to clear up as well, is like the festivals, just because you got onto one does not mean you have that giant massive crowd.
Sure.
There's bands that we saw play that had like a very small pool of people, and it's just, you're playing at the same time as like Chelsea Grant or somebody that like a highlight band, Slaughter to Prevail, like
so
it's tough. And Inc, it was kind of, there was the side stage, the main stage area, this giant like horseshoe of vendors at the giant Ohio State Reformatory, and then on like the courtyard of the Reformatory was like the merch booth, part of the root beer stand, a couple other things, and the backstage. So like you had to get people from the festival to be going back there.
Right.
And us and our boys Fight From Within, they're playing the EclipseFest as well. Both of us, they played Saturday 1:30 to 2, and we played Sunday 1:30 to 2, and both of us had like probably 4,000 people back there. It was just insane. In perspective of like, we saw groups play, and it was like they didn't really have as much of a crowd pull, and it was like in the back of my mind like, be happy I'm here, no matter what the fuck happens. Because at first when we started playing, there was only, actually not before we played, when we were setting up, there was only a pool of people, and we were like, damn, we were out there networking and like hardcore passing. As soon as the gates opened, everyone had business cards. Oh, party at the Reformatory stage 1:30, back by the merch, and we just poured through. Shout out Center City Print, because Alex came in with the drop shipment. I called him and I was like, yo, I'm like, we need cards. We're at this giant festival. And he's like, bro, it's Friday, and like, I don't know if I could swing that yet, bro. And I was like, I appreciate you. And then he calls me back 30 seconds later, and he's like, I looked up that festival that you're at, bro. I have my people staying late. They'll have your cards for you tomorrow. So like, thankfully, our people that were coming from the area got the cards and brought us to us. So like, once those gates opened, we were just hammering, and that's where you got to be personable. You got, even if it's just a quick, like, you got to learn how to be able to deliver your message, but not hang on to that person and spend 2 minutes. Oh, and I love your hair and your glasses look excellent. And oh, I watched Mudvayne last year too. That was a good. No, you got like, boom, there's a party over here. Like, you got to be able to get their interest and keep going, because there's a sea of people and they're overstimulated as well.
Sure.
So like, that was another like super humbling thing, is knowing that you weren't guaranteed that large crowd, but we had that, like, it went back to the Reformatory, and that was us and our boys Fight From Within, and it was funny. It was same time slot, a day apart, and both of us were the bands like out there talking with everybody, and they're grind horses as well. So shout out to those guys.
That's, a lot of musicians watch our show, listen to our show, and I always try to ask stuff like that because, everybody's looking for advice or ways to get to that next level or whatever. And I think you guys are a great example of, as you said, engagement on both levels, in person and online. Because in person, you guys are out there, you're hustling, you're getting people out there to your shows. You're not afraid to give out flyers and stuff. And I get it. A lot of artists are wallflowers, and it's tough. It's very difficult. It's difficult for me to do this, to be on camera. I hate being on camera, but you just kind of have to force yourself out there if you want, you're passionate about what you're doing. And the other aspect of, you're always on social media. You're always updating with, even if it's just a picture of the band and here's what we have coming up and things like that. Fresh pictures, fresh videos, fresh content all the time. There's a lot of pressure in that, and I know it's easy to get overwhelmed and easy to get like, Jesus, like, I worked really hard on this and the algorithm completely ignored it and nobody saw it and that kind of stuff.
You're flagged for using your audio.
Yeah, I love
copyright. I sang on the show. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. No. The social media is like, it's a blessing and a curse, double-edged sword. I love it, but my wrists are like, oh my God, you're giving me carpal tunnel because like,
yep.
Also like doing other platforms with like Sled Dog Entertainment and then trying to do my own stuff with like Twitch. That's like 3 different accounts you shuffle. And then it's one of those things that once you get like a hang of social media, everyone tells you how much that they don't get it. And then they're looking for help. So then you're adding, helping your buddy out for a couple bucks a month and such like that. So that's something, again, with this year, this is something I'm learning with like balance. And that's literally comes into it is like, take this nice piece of technology and just put it down for like 2 hours and I don't give a motherfucker who's hitting me up. Like, not to sound like selfish or anything, but like you need to be at a little bit, you know what I mean? But
for sure,
that's the thing too, is social media. I talk with my guys a lot, like just so I'm prepping them and I'm like, dude, there's a million things you could share about. You could share, I had fun at this show. Throwback to this. Here's our stuff on Spotify. Here's a Spotify playlist we're on. Here's upcoming shows. Here, like, just kind of recycle. And I like to do at the whiteboard for our practices. I'll just like jot down small ideas, like tell a band story. Oh, this one time we got the name of our song Frankenshuffle because this girl came on our bus and she accidentally bumped her head and walked around. Which is honest to God true story. But just little things like that. And that's like the thing that I think made it harder now. And I think maybe like our age, a bit older, is like TikTok and short content is like everything has to be fast microwave. And usually like essentially you'll build a YouTube video, say that's a half hour, and then you're going to take 3 blocks of that and dissect that, and then you're just gonna click reels, TikToks, and stuff like that. So like, gone are essentially the days of being a band and being like, yeah, we just make music, because then you're probably paying somebody to do something like that, because everybody's on the internet doing everything. Like, look at TV and stuff like that. I mean, a major thing, WWE is moving to Netflix.
Right.
Like, does that end? Crazy. Does that end the longest reigning televised episodic thing that they have going on? You know what I mean? Does that because they were about the championships and their longevity? So it's like, does that kill theirs? That they're going to Netflix now? You know what I mean? Like, people aren't doing TV, and even like radio, it's tough like that too. It's like, I put the radio on, oh, it's a commercial. I go to the next thing, oh, I fucking hate this song. Versus it's like, okay, open title, play this. Okay, cool. Oh, a playlist based on everything I listen to or something recommending that I like. Sure, click that. But then we all hate on streaming platforms because they don't pay artists a lot. But I think, I got myself going. That's one of the things that I nerd out on about is because everybody's like, Spotify. Oh, Spotify sucks. They only give you a small percentage. And I'm like, do you look into any other platform just to like try one out? Right. Whoa, I got Spotify, and it's like YouTube Music. Actually, better yet, I'll bet up $1 YouTube Premium. You get completely ad-free YouTube, which If you're like me, where you've been watching YouTube forever,
Watch a
so
lot
you
of
get an ad on YouTube and you start getting the cane and the gray hairs and you get angry. I remember back in my day, we didn't have ads on YouTube. But YouTube Premium, you're going to get essentially Spotify, YouTube Music, which has the app and all that stuff, desktop feature, blah, 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 and ad-free YouTube. Apple Music, which depending on your phone carrier, you might have a free subscription to. So you don't even have to pay that $11 a month. Personally, I've been using one called Tidal, and I think that's a bit more artist oriented. I like that they have the Tidal Artist Rising program where I get little email notifications like, hey, we're going to host a seminar on correct ways to pitch to playlists.
Okay.
And they're not just speaking on their platform. They're talking about how you're going to petition your playlist pitches for Spotify, Apple Music, yada, yada. So you sign up for that. And like now with my music subscription, I'm getting seminars and they have the higher streaming quality. Like if you're on the desktop, they have like, now they just put in Dolby mastering and there's the FLAC streaming similar to Apple Music, but like you hear just so much cool, more atmosphere, nuances to the music. So like that's one of my things too, is everyone bitches about Spotify, but it's like there's a whole load more of platforms. Also Tidal, shout out, they actually have the highest streaming revenue for artists.
Yeah, I think I was reading something about that recently. Like there was an artist whose, tweets, which I don't know what they're called now, X's, I don't know, are going viral. I don't know what that is now. I don't know what to call it. Fucking Elon. But but yeah, it's that there's definitely other options out there, and I feel like people aren't using the platforms they have to their full advantage.
Oh, absolutely.
And then complaining about how they're not really doing anything for them. And
Spotify,
it's like, well, you have to work with it, you know?
Spotify's flat out there like, yeah, we're a podcasting thing. We're a podcast platform.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
they made that
they're
pretty
catering
clear
to podcasts
with Joe Rogan. So obviously they made it very clear what they were doing with that. But let's get into, since we are on the subject of the music, we should definitely talk about the music before we get into the festival. So before we get into your latest EP, you had The Gamble of Life, which was your debut album in 2016. You have a self-titled EP that came out in 2018. A lot has changed since that has come out. So how do you kind of look back at the stuff that you came from before all of the last few years?
it's strange now, and I like especially more now because like we've been a band for a while, so like having fans mention being like, yeah, some of the stuff that you're doing is cool, but some of the shit you guys were doing back in the Gamble, that I like that. And I'm like, damn, we're that old now.
We're that old.
We're that old that you guys already want us to like revisit old styles and stuff like that, or like
Yeah.
But coming from there, it was like, let's see, I think that was the last time we were on the podcast here, was promoting the self-titled EP back in 2018. Then we did 2 single releases because we were doing Swap a Guy, and when you're playing Swap a Guy, it's tough because we're a live band. We like playing live. That's like that is like, to me, that's like the highlight of it, is that the social interaction of shows, just the on-stage adrenaline and whatnot. But finding that balance is tough between just like cutting off and just working on writing music. And it's harder when you're shuffling guys and you're keeping to a schedule. Some guys leaving, but you have like 6 nice shows lined up in a month, and it's like, okay, we're not trying to like... Because also on like the promoter end, doing like the Sled Dog Entertainment stuff, I know on the other end where it's like, blah blah blah, can't make this happen, and it's like, okay, be like water, like, and that's my balance too. Is I gotta stop being like fire and be more like water, and just be able to let it roll and flow. But we did Second Place Superstar, and then after that we did Ghost. Those were the singles. Ghost was fun because that's like a side of the band we haven't gotten to like fully display, and that's just like that medium paced, really dark, ambient, hanging type of song. But Mike flashy riffs all over, like definite like. He hates when we compare stuff to Slayer. He's not a Slayer fan by any means, but some of the licks he has, and maybe it's the same scale or whichever that he's ripping through, but it's like, oh, it. Maybe just it's a minor scale, right? It sounds evil as fuck, and it fits it perfectly.
Yeah.
And that all led up into the Smiling and the Suffering release, which was like, right now it's tough because like I said, everything's fast, microwave mentality, and it's like they usually want some kind of visual partnered up with a lyric video or a music video. So when you do a 10-song album like The Gamble of Life, it's like, okay, 6 or 7 of these songs aren't, in a sense, seeing the light of day.
Right.
Because you're not dropping that extra budgeting and marketing into the visuals versus Smiling and the Suffering. It was a bit sporadic because, again, we were still switching through members and working people in and whatnot during like the recording process and towards the releases. But that was one where we were able to highlight each song. Since it's a 5-song EP, we're able to do some sort of visual and correspond it and make the longevity, like we're able to stretch it out decently, I felt. And in that route, it gave fans like more of a connection to those tracks. Like those 5 songs will have people ask for more than a lot of stuff off of the self-titled EP, which was out for like, what's that, 4 years before that came out. There's songs on there like, oh, I didn't even know Battle Cry. Oh, that's cool. Like, I didn't even know that fucking song existed. Or like The Gamble Life in entirety, some of them. And that, I think, went well with doing like how we did Faucet Mouth. We did the really comical video for that. And it got a lot of attraction just because it was silly. And us being, like you said earlier, not being overly serious. Because in metal, you get all the time that I'm tough guy serious. This is my music. And it's like, that's cool. I have moments like that too, but I'm like overall just a goofy person.
Right.
So it's like we kind of all are in a sense. So it's like, why not just explore that? So I think being able to chop it up, and even that's for like bands now too. Like if you do a 5-song EP, essentially like they want 6 weeks to pitch a song. So if you waterfall that together with 6 weeks and stuff like that, and like it's a lot less dough. Well, I guess whatever you chop it, but if you did 5 and you could break it up over time versus doing a full album where with the drop you're only doing 3 versus you're writing and already excited to get new stuff out there.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the breakdown. It's a little segment we like to do. Exactly. You got it. It's a very clever reference. You got to have a high IQ to catch what we're throwing there.
I switched cameras. Can you do it again?
There you go. So we're gonna go track by track on Smiling and the Suffering. You can tell us about the inspiration or the stories behind each song. This could be about the lyrics, the composition, the recording, whatever you want to share you think is maybe the most interesting aspect of that particular song. So first one off is Faucet Mouth.
So Faucet Mouth was originally just going to be a single, and that one we went to Navro Studios with Eric Navrosky to track, and that one kind of came around to doing something faster, more thrash groovy, and a lot of times Mike will spitball a riff, Dave will jump onto the drums, and then we just start sandwiching it. Once they start putting the bread to it, then we'll start adding a little extra stuff up. And so we were jamming that one. We had a couple riffs floating around, but it only originally meant to be a single. And at the end of the recording process, we were talking about partnering up with the video just to give it a nice visual push. And that's when we started spitballing, doing something silly. I remember Mike was stuck on, he wanted to do something with like Walmart first act guitars, but out of like the baby section. And Dave's like, I spent so much fucking money on my drum set, I'm not playing that video. You're out of your fucking mind. But that started spitballing the conversation about just doing something stupid and wacky and silly and just getting more into that route, and yeah, that ended up being probably one of our most popular songs because we got a hit off from Metal Injection with that one, and I started learning about doing more strategic with targeting ads and such like that. So like that all was super beneficial, and that was the first song we released in a while at that point too. So there's a little bit of like a excitement. I don't want to say demand, but like people were waiting for us to do something, like poking us with a stick. And then we were working with like management team around that time that we were just starting to experiment with, and they were talking about like the waterfall thing, and I was like, well, yeah, I was familiar with it, but let's try to keep it going. So then we fired off with Only Human that we did. Those were partnered when we recorded. We did Only Human and Fossmouth at the same time, but we're gonna separate them as releases. And then we went back for, I think it's Trainwreck and Fawcett. Not Fossmouth. Trainwreck and Frankenshuffle we did in a pair as well. So it was kind of, as we were recording songs, it was kind of like, okay, why don't we just compilate them? And then Only Human was one that I wanted to get like a bit more direct into the emotional realm, and that was around that time we had a bunch of friends passing away and relatives and whatnot, so it was more like a song about living in the moment and embracing the ones that aren't here with you anymore. So I wanted to go from like, okay, yeah, we could be silly and funny with Faucet Mouth, and that was like a, yeah, because as you start doing more stuff, you get people that are like, oh, well, they get everything handed to them and stuff. So that was like our fuck you song versus like Only Human was like, okay, but yeah, we're also like, I'm emotional. And then
I'm a sensitive artiste.
Yeah, Trainwreck came around because we wanted to do something just on the heavier end. We haven't pushed anything that was just more aggressive, would be the term, like since Inner Demons. So it felt like it was around that time, and we were playing a lot of shows with heavier bands at like Whitechapel, Chelsea Grin. So it was like, all right, this would be something that would fit fine with that. And then around that time it was same with Frankenshuffle. That was a whole separate vibe that's very new metal-ish vibe. Like it's driving, but it's really bouncy, and I took more like a rap approach to the vocals, because that's the fun part with that is over that course of time that we were writing the songs and hitting the studio, and like we had Only Human and Fossmouth done for a little bit before we released them, so we had time to work on Trainwreck and Frankenshuffle. So it was like by that time while everything's rolling out, it was like I'm still writing music and I'm listening to different stuff and pulling from different influences. So Frankenshuffle was one where it was like, all right, I do enjoy a decent amount of rap music and stuff, so like I could kind of show that influence off, rap, new metalish vibe. And then the tail one was Nemesis, and I believe what held us up mostly on that was Mike had two bitching bridge pieces, and we could not decide on what one we wanted to go for. And in the end we ended up going with the like Gorilla Stomp, dum, boom, boom. That one we kept as in, that was supposed to be just like with the CD release. And then shortly after the CD release, I was thinking same thing with how I was saying each song got its own highlight. And I was like, well, if we don't really want to cough up budget post-release for a music video, like that wasn't really in the discussion prior to all that. Why don't we just do like a lyric video? And shortly after the release of the album, we put out the lyric video, and that kind of helped highlight that track as well. So each song had its own highlighted segment. Did the lyric video for Trainwreck just because the stigmata that like, oh, you do metal growl vocals, and that one I do more guttural stuff. So I was like, that would be perfect to have the lyrics on. So it's, he's just making sounds, and no, mom, he's making words on the screen. And Frankenshuffle, because it was a fun song, and we had fun doing the Faucet Mouth video. It was like, all right, Frankenshuffle, Frankenstein. It's kind of like a Halloween themed, and it was getting towards spooky season when we were doing the filming, and because we wanted to do a Halloween themed video, and we're like, what if we tied the stupid shit that we were doing in Faucet Mouth and brought it back into Frankenshuffle and made that like a Halloween themed video?
Yeah.
So we just wanted to continue the silliness on that one, but in the end, like each track got its own highlight at time, and as often the most requested stuff is from that EP.
Well, it definitely has the most plays. It seems like Spotify and all the major ones. So that obviously you guys are on an upward trajectory in that sense. So I want to get into Sled Dog Entertainment as well. So when did you start that, and what's the goal with that?
That one I branched to do Sled Dog. I think that was 21. It was when or 2021 was around I started to put like a label to it, because I was always constructing shows. Like, it's been years since I did a festivals, but I did 2 of the Scranton music festivals, and there were I believe way back when with Threat Point, I was actually on here talking about that. And that was my first time that I had a multi-stage festival. That was at Naog Park in 2014, but that was like complete multi-genre. And then we did another one the following year or year after, and that was at Lyrics in Carbondale way back.
Okay.
Stretching back to those years. And that was like a full day list of music, and I always did those as multi-genre. But I was putting shows together, even like most of the Without a Martyr shows from back in the day, and not really stuff with Threat Point. That was more, I was like more taking notes, because Chris and CJ were like ridiculously fucking workhorses, and I was like, do you need a hand with that actually? Because you guys, I'm learning more or less from you guys.
Yeah.
But once we started doing Traverse, like almost any of the Traverse shows was, for the most part, something I've set up. So I was like, well, it felt right about that time to like put a name behind it to kind of get that brand recognition, because you see the dog on the logo on the flyer. It's like, oh, okay, I know this is going to be a quality show.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was around 2021, because that was around the Faucet Mouth time. So the band Traverse the Abyss was getting a decent amount of traction, and like it's getting to the point, like, no, not like in any cocky sort of sense or so, but like we just have to space out our local shows too.
Yeah.
Just so it's not just stagnant, like, oh, come see us at the V Spot, we're playing there June 8th, and it's like, yeah, I just saw you at the V Spot, or I saw you at Finnegan's, or I saw you at blah blah blah. It's a
common mistake local bands make.
It's
more
hard,
isn't always better.
It's a hard blend, because for a while we were playing just about as much as we could, because you'd talk to Chris Motionless was the one judge at the Next to Rock that 97.9X had, and that was one of his things. He was like, listen, times are different now, but like when we're coming up, and one of the things I still believe in is like, fucking play, because same with promoting your band, passing stuff out, like, no, and I always keep the mentality like, no one knows who the fuck we are, so I need to sell you on us.
Yeah.
So I just felt it was about time to start doing shows and having a label on them, as well as branching out from just Traverse shows, because there's not just us in the scene around here. There's tons of killer bands, Cruel Bomb, The Aegeans, Slapjaw, Toothless, So Much Hope Buried. The list goes on, what I mean? But like, I could start highlighting them, and if these people from Traverse shows already have a bit of faith in me that I'm going to put on a good show, then it helps everybody grow.
Yeah.
Like, even if not for me show, taking burping all the beer, and I love it. This is actually really good. The Raz Root.
Yeah, SBC Raz the Roof. Very good.
Raz Roof. But being able to take like bands that are starting to do more mid-Atlantic shows, or like they're on tour, and being able to accommodate them and being like, hey, yeah, we could help you out, and kind of hone my claws on that side of the industry too. So now I could start bargain pitching my band better when I have to. And being able, like, if not for me, the way they sent over their stuff to me, I was like, damn, I like your layout. Like, that's a good idea. I should follow suit with this. Or even just friends in the local scene, just how they send their stuff over, and it's like, damn, that looks nice. I want to do that for my group. So getting more eyes on that side. But yeah, 2021 I launched it as Sled Dog Entertainment. I have a husky at home. That's my boy Demon. And that's where the imagery came from, and the thought process was like, he can't pull a sled by himself.
Yeah.
You need a team. Same with a dog sled team. You need a group of them, and that's the entertainment industry. You need publicists. You need booking agents, venues, promoters. Like, it spans out artists.
Yeah.
People to do design work, people to do videos. Like, it's all. And Sled Dog Entertainment is essentially just a network hub of reference points, and as well as booking for shows. My boy Keith Chappell, he's been keeping it down hard. He has his subsidiary of us is J Ragnarok Promotions, but he's always every day it's like 3 different video clips. Like, he does his morning wake up session, morning metal, blah blah blah, and like it just. But like we were talking earlier, like the social media burnout.
Yeah.
So, and he's like on that, and it's also cool because then on my end, like I could help people out and just kind of pass along other duties like. So and so is looking to record. Okay, well, we know these studios that we could already line you up to talk to somebody with, or how do I suck with these targeted ads. Okay, well, we have a couple people that like doing that stuff and they could help you out, and we try to keep everything at like a extremely affordable cost just because we know how much on the side too is just seeing how much everything costs from doing Traverse and whatnot. So it's like, all right, let's make it. Like, obviously, I'm not going to be able to put someone directly at, like, yep, you're playing DWP Aftershock Festival. Like, yep, it's a signed deal, blah, 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 but versus, keeping it at an accurate price point for what I could offer and not, like, gouging bands for nonsense.
Right, because you're seeing it from all ends. You've probably been there and done that when it comes to that type of thing. So you don't want to see that kind of behavior or business practices continue.
Yeah, even like same with Traverse, same with Sled Dog Entertainment. We just try to be as like transparent as it is about everything as possible, because then it's more organic.
Yeah. So with this, you've been able, and I a lot of, I think, bands too kind of get sick of the way that maybe certain promoters or bookers, or maybe the lack thereof in the area, lack of venues, things like that. So you're really kind of taking matters in your own hands and like doing it the right way, or doing it the best way that
we have a sound team on board too. So even if it's a place that will let us have a show, but they just don't have equipment, like we're able to accommodate to that. Like, that's the thing with the ballroom, there's no sound equipment in there.
Yeah,
it's an open room, but we have the connections with people to do sound teams to make it into something special. So that's a cool one too. Is I love the V spot, I love Vinny, I love the staff, I love playing there, all the above, but I feel like NEPA definitely gets a bit. That's home. That's the heart of the V spot. They are fickle about trying other places, and if some of these places are newer and just starting to get their stuff going, and it's not a home run 100% right off the bat, then like they're like, fuck that place, I'm not going there. I'll just go to shows at the V and stuff. So it's like, again, I love Vinny, but like, you have too good of a thing going on, my dude. Which is never is not a bad thing, but
sure.
I'm trying to show off other spots in the area. Like Kevin at Finnegan's has a huge room. Mm-hmm. Like, that is a huge room. Same thing, Eric at the Moon Tavern. Like, for even indie bands, alternative bands, you don't need to be metal. As long as you're publicly friendly, like, because the hotel traffic, like, he's willing to help get acts up in there. And then you have the ballroom, which I was immediately taking advantage of. As soon as I saw that, it was like, okay, we could do something cool. Harry's downtown, they're another one. They don't have sound, but they're looking to start doing more entertainment. But yeah, it's just over the years in the scene, seeing different places come and go. So I think that's the thing that we're trying to do, as well as highlight other venues around the areas, as well as bring like that whole VFW vibe, fire hall concerts.
Which obviously a lot of people remember quite fondly. When I was talking to Chris Motionless when we interviewed him a couple of years ago on the podcast, he looked at those shows like remembering the Dome shows And all the obviously the hardcore scene around here virtually wouldn't exist without the VFW shows and things like that. So CC's, yep, places like that.
Shout out to Slapjaw, because that's one.
Yeah,
that was like lore of the area. Is like, oh, I remember CC days and seeing Slapjaw, and all my cousins telling me about that and stuff. So it's cool that we play with them now.
Yeah, and they're on this show too.
Yeah,
so let's get into how that happened.
I felt that was necessary for Slapjaw, just because they've been doing hardcore music, metal hardcore music in this area since 1998.
Yeah,
so it's like
crazy how long they've been around.
Jerry and Dave have been doing it forever. So it's like just to pay homage to the years that they've put in doing that. And funny enough, now I think they're doing a bit more, because most of their kids are grown up now, so they have that. A
little bit of freedom.
A little bit more freedom. And then Jerry was doing stuff on TikTok, and the one video he did blew up. Fred Durst is commenting on it, wanting to collab with them and everything.
What?
And go on his TikTok. All his videos are hundreds of thousands views, millions views. And like, he's just an old school blue collar dude. And he's like, and that's the thing with fucking social media again. Like, you don't know what's going to pop off.
Yeah.
It might be a stupid clip of you going, and all of a sudden that is generating, everyone's dubbing that over their videos, and that's what it is. Yep. He put it, his thing was him with the drum machine, and he playing guitar, and the caption was a riff I wrote that I liked, something like that. And since then,
who would have thought?
Right? So then, leading Scranton EclipseFest. I was scouting for Sled Dog Entertainment. I was looking for new venues. Talked with Eric from the Moon Tavern, and I kept meaning to stop by. And I was like, let's set up a date. And he's more like a hands-on guy. He's like, stop by first and let's chat. Like, I don't want to just do it for everything from email. If you're local, like, let's come down. Let me show you the place. Let me show you, like, what we could offer, blah, blah, blah. So we were talking, and he's like, listen, like, your band's probably a bit too aggressive to be up here, because this is in the Moon Tavern, which is where we're going to have the after party. That is hotel traffic. So it has to be like family friendly to a sense. You can't, I don't think Traverse the Abyss would really fit the flow for that.
Right.
And we're chatting. He's like, did you see the ballroom that I have? And we were just at the Comic-Con not too long ago, but it was filled with all vendors and stuff. So I was like, yeah, but not blank. And so come with me, come downstairs, flip up the lights. And immediately, my idea light was clicked, because it's been years since I've been able to do a multi-stage festival, and it's just finding the location. You couldn't do that at the New Penny. You couldn't do that at
right.
the Irish Wolf Pub. You can't do that at the V-Spot. And even Josh with the Ritz, it's like, he was teasing me. He's like, how come you didn't do it at my venue? And I'm like, how am I going to do that there? I can't do two stages there. Like, you could have two different bands play like back to back on the stage, but like, this is what I wanted to bring back. As soon as I saw the room, it went back to being 14 at Mayhem Fest 2008, and I was like, oh, that's what sold me with music, and I could reimagine that in a sense. Reanimate it, I guess, may be the term I'm looking for. But we're going to have two stages, one at each end of the room. When one band stops, the next band starts at the other side, so the crowd has to shift back and forward. If you're front row for one group, technically, as soon as they stop, you're in the back of the room.
Okay.
So as soon as I saw that, where it was like, I think we have enough connections now to where we could be able to do this fully DIY with like the soundboards and lighting and bands. And it was one of those things where I'm always telling people like, you gotta check out Slapjaw. No, you gotta see them live, because Jerry's crazy, or like Toothless, blah, blah, blah. Like, and we, just from playing the Mid-Atlantic areas so much, we have friends from all over in Maryland or Philadelphia, Virginia, etc., New York. And I felt like this was an opportunity where I was able to like take a solid amount, like a whole show worth of bands from our area, as well as a whole show's worth of bands from out of the area, and combine them. And then strategically, for where these bands' locations, everybody except for Fight From Within, there are out-of-state guests. Usually with Sled Dog shows, I try to bring one band that's like not from here at all. I give them one of the later time slots, and that's like our out-of-state guest.
Yeah.
So Fight From Within, they're from New York, and they're going to be our out-of-state guest for this event. But all the other groups, we're all in a 2-hour radius. Every band is either Scranton Wilkes-Barre or you're within a 2-hour radius. Desolations from Philadelphia, Vitruvia's from Reading, and Strange Culture, Nailbite are both from like central PA Lancaster area.
Okay.
So everybody is drawing, and when you're sharing and you're putting those targeted ads on, etc., like that's all in that one giant like G spot of area that we're marketing into.
Yeah.
So like you're talking to people from central PA and they're familiar with the show just as much as people towards Reading area, and I feel like that will help draw because you're just centralized instead of overly scattered.
Yeah.
And then there's enough local bands with support, so like that will bring a natural draw just from being in the area and people that support the scene, etc. And then I tried to bring in a few of our festival friends, which us and Nailbite played the Louder Than Life festival together. Actually, our sets were actually right back to back at Louder Than Life, which worked out amazingly because I brought Johnny and Lana up to do vocals with us, and they brought me up for their set. And then from Incarceration, we brought Fight From Within, and and like I mentioned too, Mikey is another one that's just a grind horse. They're always on their stuff. They actually are playing Incarceration again this year on one of the main stages. So congrats to them, because that's an incredible feat too. That does not happen often with bands.
Yeah. I was looking up some of the bands that I wasn't as familiar with, and Nailbite is really impressive.
They're young too.
Exactly. Like that's what I think is part of the hook, where you're just blown away by like, oh wow, these kids are so young and whatever, but they sound great too.
That's
the music's great, the performances are great. Like they have a lot going for them.
They have a full package for right now. Like with their age and everything, they have a full package, and they're only going to get better from there.
Yeah.
And shout out to them though. They've played Blue Ridge, they've done Louder Than Life twice, and they've played Incarceration. So like that's,
yeah, especially at that age, that's crazy.
I think Lana's 16, 17.
Wow.
There's one of their ads that they're running now is from when they first did Blue Ridge.
Yeah.
And the caption is imagine being 14 years old and cutting class to go play a festival in front of like thousands of people, and they're like, the teachers found out ... They gave us extra credit. But like they're the nicest people too, and they're another like grind horse band, and their support system is like unreal. Like they have a tight end. We kind of joke that a lot of our shows we call them the family reunion, because like our fans and their fans, like everyone just like immediately locked. And it was cool to have like a band that reciprocates that energy and is as supportive as you in terms.
So it's great for them. You're bringing their fans out to here to more of the Scranton, Dixon City area, and then when they do, you can go down.
We
there,
haul our
go to
people
Central
down there.
PA.
We haul our people down to Harrisburg and stuff, because we're usually running gigs together at like Love Drafts or HMAC in that's Mechanicsburg, Harrisburg area. So, Fight From Within was another group that like Mikey was doing the grind work, and he was getting in touch with the bands that wanted to play at Incarceration, and we were both like, hey, you're in New York and we're in PA, and it's like, yeah, we're actually like really fucking close to each other. And we played a show with Bleed From Within up in New York, and he came out because it was right like not too far from their area. And again, like right off the bat, it was just like, okay, so what were we doing for Incarceration? Blah blah blah. Okay, blah, blah. And like, so it's cool that I was able to bring both those bands into a festival where I have our our friends from around the state, as well as a list of our local bands that we would vouch for.
Yeah.
So if someone was hitting us up from out of the area, like, okay, I'm putting a show on it, blah blah blah. Who should I hit up? And I'm gonna read the bands that are pretty much on this list, minus Cruel Bomb. Sadly, Brandon and those guys weren't available. They were asked though, for good reasons though. They got a little one coming into the tribe.
Oh,
So,
okay. Well,
for good reasons.
Congrats to them, huh?
Cheers.
So what I like too is that it has a lot of different subgenres of metal and hard music and stuff too. So there's a little bit of, no matter where you lean in terms of sound, you're gonna enjoy one or several of these bands for sure.
And that's the beauty of the heavy genre is there's just so many. You can't just say metal music and think one band.
Right.
Because even saying Pantera or Megadeth, like that's totally already, that's different sections. So I tried to work with that the best I could because I love deathcore music. I can't deny that, but there's sometimes we play festivals with a bunch of deathcore bands where it's like, I wouldn't mind hearing someone sing for 30 seconds.
Right.
So that kind of went into that as well. Is how could we blend this so it's not like, okay, I just listened to the same band 11 times. And that's something that Nailbite does well with too, is they have so many different subgenre blends in their music too, that each song is unique and fun like that. So they're like the epitome of that in a package. Fight From Within is like in your face metalcore, like Amir, Acacia Strain, Ghost Inside. Let's see. Then we're going down Milton, PA. We have Escape Artist, which they're like just quintessential what's good about metalcore and deathcore music. That like nice hybrid of that. Then we go to Slapjaw, who's been doing metal hardcore in this area since '98, and I felt like I had to put them on just because we've been friends with them since the Without a Martyr days, and they've been doing it borderline 30 years. Like you have to show some respect to that, especially when you watch bands fizzle out in less than 2 years and you watch all the little stars twinkle out, versus a band that's been like there and they still put it down. Bounce back to the other stage, there's Toothless, which would be like chaotic mathcore, hardcore. They're just fun, and I don't think anyone expects it to hit as crazy as it does. They usually start with The Neighbors and it has that nice build up, and then once it's like verbatim, once they get to that wiry section right after the intro, like at the V spot, there's always the pit just blows up. And that actually is one of the reasons with the ballroom too, is everyone likes to mosh at the V, but there's like between me and you away on the couches to do that. You can't really let loose. Versus in the ballroom, it's like, have fucking at it, dude. Like, run all over the place, burn yourselves out.
And if you're too old for that, like me, I could stand in the back and
you could be away from the whole thing.
I could nod approvingly with my arms crossed.
Yeah, and that's the best part about it is you don't have to be in the mix, because it happens at the V where there's the guy who's he's getting curious. He goes to watch the band. The mosh pit starts. He gets bumped. His drink spilled. He's trying to swing at one of our people, and everyone in the scene's like, "Dude, what the fuck are you doing?" He just bumped. Like, don't you know what's going on? But yeah, shout out to Toothless, ensuring mosh pits indefinitely. And then we jump back over to Vitruvia from Reading, PA, and they have more like a post-hardcore metalcore sound. Like Warped Tour is the only way I could like say what nails their sound. Like Warped Tour, A Day to Remember, Warped Tour, The Word Alive would probably be a good reference band for them. Very melodic.
Okay.
But they do have their hard parts, and Tanner's a hell of a vocalist, and when he starts hitting those, he goes from that nice singing voice that he has, and he goes into those aggressive parts. Like you just feel that like rawness to it. Then we'll bounce back over to the other stage. We have Desolation from Philadelphia. Yeah, Desolation. And that is like ass beater deathcore. Body Snatcher would probably be a great reference. Just pummeling breakdowns. And we played with them. We were in the running to play at Vakken Open Air. And it was the Philadelphia round. It was the preliminary. And we played with these guys. And as soon as they started, I was like, they have a good production. Like their first song that they open with, Departure, as soon as it rides in and then it hits this like heavy accented breakdown, and it's like that is money. And then Strange Culture, which they were our TTA fan driven contest winner. So like I mentioned earlier, the word Battle of the Bands rubs me wrong because I just see everyone gets the weapons out.
Sure.
and like
get the
you
wrong
play the show, like you hear the people like, don't, that's not Jimmy's band, don't clap for those guys, and it's like
right.
they're good, but I'm not gonna clap for them. I'm here for you, honey. And it's like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
you know, it is what it is. But like even merch sales, sometimes battle the bands. Like I didn't buy their t-shirt. They were good. I didn't buy their t-shirt there because I'm there for you guys. You know what I mean? And like we try to like tell our people like don't fucking be like that. Like if one of them's trying to be like that, so
Yeah.
I labeled them, and I've been doing that with Sled Dog Entertainment because we do TTA TV on Thursdays. That's our Twitch channel. We stream at 9 p.m. usually until like 10 or 11 depending on what we're doing. But we've been doing these fan-driven contests where it's battle of the bands, but we make a similar to what we did on DWP that got us festival stuff. It's like, yo, this is a cool idea, and what everyone does is they just promote and bring their fans on the stream, and then we'll put two bands against each other, and okay, pick what one you like more.
Yeah.
And then it usually prizes hang in there. They're on the festival. They got on because of fan driven contest they won last year, which was for studio time at Navro Studios.
Oh, nice.
Which was what they were able to record their debut releases with.
That's
so that
awesome.
was cool. It's like we helped get them in line to the studio and get the music that's out on Spotify and Apple and everything now.
Yeah.
But we've been doing for openings, not opening slots, but slots on our shows. Usually it's like a third time slot. But Strange Culture was the winner for this one, and they brought their people. Like the chat was flooded with their people, and it's like it's cool to see because then like on that end, if they're like that grind horsey, then you're gonna hope that they're gonna bring those people out to see them. Like, oh, you helped me get this show, like come out and see us on it.
Yeah.
Then we bounce back to the other stage for Brimstoner, our residential stoner doom metal psychedelic rock band, and they're a Sled Dog Entertainment band. They're one that I've been working with. Just like I don't like the word manager. I rather use coach because I'm not trying to like micromanage you. I'm just trying to coach you. Like, oh, hey, dude, we want to get a cool music video done. Who could we go to? Oh, you know, actually, let me look at the directory. You know, here's these people. Here's roughly what they're gonna ask for. Blah blah blah. Here's their references for videos. So and so. So that's been a band I've been working with. Just getting them a bit more streamlined on social media because they're all pretty honest about. They're like, I don't fucking get it, dude. Okay, and I can give you a couple bucks. You'll go on our page and help shit out. Yeah, why not? Well, I'm doing it anyways. And then Hang In There, which I put them on because they won one of our contests last time. Any of the bands that win or participate in the contest, even we usually give them some direct invite to one of the events that we're doing, and the winners get a perk package. So Hang In There, they won. They got their studio time. And then When Hell Ascends Tonight, one that we were doing for the V-Spot. Because usually our V-Spot shows, we try to go all out. It's just what you got to do. And I work at a screen print shop, Magnum Screening. And we will print a small order t-shirts for that band.
Oh, cool.
So like usually you get some extra stuff where we'll share your name a bit more. Like when I make the Instagram post, I'll put their music a bit more than the other groups and whatnot. So that was Hanging There. We gave them the invite just because they participated last year, and now they had music out to display. So it's like, all right, let's ride this. Let's get you guys on some gigs.
Nice. So you're really giving back in terms of, you know, what you get from people and really from fans and stuff too. You're giving back to the next generation of bands that are coming through.
Yeah, kind of like what Slapjaw did with us when we were, and like even Threat Point, like just helping some people who've been doing it, just lending a hand, giving tips and shit like that, and trying to help grow, like help the community grow too. Because like the studio one was a cool one, and I thought that was like very fulfilling, that a band that got to debut their music, because they literally sent the message like, we really want to be a part of this, but all we have is live videos from the Keystone stage on our Bandcamp. Can we use that? I'm like, dude, if you guys want it, I don't care. Like,
yeah.
And they brought mad people in the stream, which is the best part too. Is like they earned it. But one of the things too with the Scranton EclipseFest, we got these big old tickets If you stop at the Moon Tavern at all during the week, they got some available here. I have a couple left on me, but all ages. Because again, the V spot,
Yeah,
it's great, but you can't
do
bring
all-
your 14-year-old there.
No.
And that's the one nice things with the ballroom is it's all ages, so everyone could go. We're gonna have food and beverages for sale. There's gonna be a section for hard drinks for sale. So if you're one of those people that don't go out because you can't drink, I don't want to go to a show because they don't have a bar, because there are some people like that. They can't go out and have a drink, then they don't really have interest in the show.
Yep.
But you have
Unfortunately.
you're checking all the things. The other cool one with that too is we haven't. Doors are at 5. Show will end at 11:30, and then we're gonna go upstairs to the Moon Tavern and have an after party.
Oh, cool.
They have pool tables up there. They have dart boards. The fryers on and stuff, so everyone will be able to just go up and chill. And for media and bands, it's a less stimulating environment for them to network with each other because you're not running to catch this band's performance and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, on one other, it's such a cool event because it's in the back end of a hotel. So what I'm also promoting to people is don't fucking drive.
Yeah.
Literally, get a hotel room, do the whole show, and then go upstairs. Go in your room.
Yeah.
Save the drive for the next day. When you wake up refreshed, have a coffee, hit the road. Versus like, God forbid, drinking all day at the show and then trying to drive 2 hours back because you wanted to see Vitruvia because you're from Reading, or you know what I mean, like,
sure.
because that's not cool at all. So like that's one of the best parts with that is you could I'm selling it as get a room, check your room in for 2, go up to the Moon Tavern, grab some food before, play some pool. They have a swimming pool. If that's your vibe. Go swimming. Go back to your room. Rinse the chlorine off. Whatever. About 4:30. Walk down towards the ballroom. Get in line. Do the whole show. There's food. There's drink. There's beer. There's bathrooms. For fuck's sake, you're tired in the mosh pit. You're sweaty. You could go up to your room and rinse off and come right back down to the show and not skip a beat. And then same it's all ages. And then we'll go to the after party, and then if you have the room, you don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
You're tired. All of a sudden, you're not feeling good. Your stomach got turned. You got kicked in the mosh pit. Like, go upstairs, lay down. So it's almost like a complete entertainment package. I view.
That is a pretty solid pitch. I don't think I could do any better than that. So we'll grab some comments here, and then we'll be on our way. So thank you guys for tuning in. Emma said pointed out your Deathly Hallows tattoo.
Oh yeah, I have the Deathly Hallows. Well, this one's like all pop culture. We got Vader. We got the Dark Mark. We got the ISR on. We have the Deathly Hallows. I mentioned that. Slipknot Tribal S was like.
Of course.
I don't have
Gotta
two.
do that.
I don't really get that like many band tattoos, but that was like the ode to like the Heretic Anthem. That was the first Slipknot song I heard, and I was like, that is fucking heavy metal music. Because like before, I only knew like maybe Him and Disturbed and shit like that. Which no discredit towards Disturbed. Some of their earlier work, like 10,000 Fist album's fucking awesome. Like almost start to finish, that is a great album. But hearing the Heretic Anthem from Slipknot and Wait and Bleed, I was like, that is that, man. That's the bee's knees, man.
Speaking of Vinny, said I remember Whitey playing me early demos of Traverse the Abyss. This stuff was wild.
Yeah, I remember that too. We have 3 songs on a little paper white CD, a burnt copy that Joe Loftus gave us. It was Royal Flush, One of a Kind, and 21 or Bust. That was our first studio session ever. We had those 3 songs, and we were demoing that to our friends. I was working at Walmart at the time, doing like the really early in the morning stock, and we're on one of the early breaks, and I showed my buddy Arturo. He actually might even be watching, so I want to name drop him. I remember showing him those songs, and he just looked at me and goes, hey, buddy, you keep doing what you're doing. I think you're going to be all right. So shout out to the people who's been with us forever and give us chances like Vinny. Cheers to you.
Raymond says Eric knows his shit. Happy to see both him and Traverse the Abyss getting bigger by the day. Skylar says Eric is the sweetest person ever. Jim says this is awesome. Mark says let's go.
If that's the same Skylar I'm thinking, we actually gave her a ticket to incarceration because we did TTA TV and we were doing one of our, luckily enough with Danny Wimmer, they gave us a couple guest passes and stuff like that, and one of our friends' wives was not able to make it. And they're like, could you do something with the ticket? And I was like, I could easily do something with the ticket. And we raffled that off on the channel and she won. If that's the same Skylar I'm thinking, which she's usually up to on Traverse stuff, so probably.
Landy agrees about YouTube Music, by the way. He loves it.
See? Yo, YouTube Premium, dude. Compared to Spotify, it's like $1 or $2 more, and you're going to get ad-free YouTube. Which, like, if you have little ones and you put lullabies on at night, tell me that's not the best thing in the world. It's like, good night, sweetheart. I'll see you in the morning. This episode of Paw Patrol, chasing the gang, and it's like, no, fuck, no. Daddy? Just sit up. It's like, fuck, no. So that's actually what turned me on to using YouTube Premium in the beginning. That or instructional videos. It's just like, yeah, nope, fuck that. Not watching.
Speaking of which, Miranda says, Violet's like, how did you get in the phone? Says we love Daddy.
She emulates all band energy. All that, like, that side of me is like her an embodiment. She's ready. And like that's the coolest part with that too is like musician parents and stuff is like you have music toys essentially all over the house. So like I keep the drums where she could go and sit and I'd play on the electric drum set, or the keyboard is at the height where she could go and turn it on and play with it without having to bother me or stuff like that. So they could get into it on their own, and I'm not trying to like overly force it, because like on the other end, like my mom is like a sports fanatic, like hardcore, and it was just shoved on me as a kid and I wasn't as interested in it at the time, so I completely was like, yeah, nah, I don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah,
but I love teasing people about sports. All hail the Philadelphia Steelers. Now we're gonna watch the viewers drop.
Nope. Here we go.
Nick from our band is a big Steelers fan, so like always on tour. They'll like, Pennsylvania, what PA team you like? And before he even answers, I'll chime in. I'll be like, this is the biggest motherfucking Philadelphia Eagles fan you're gonna meet. And he's just like, not an Eagles fan, Eric. Like I said, we bust with each other and scorch each other constantly. That's what keeps it fun.
Dave says, oh my God, we're so old. Dave from Slapjaw, of course.
But that's the best part. They put it down harder than some of these younger bands.
They like really do.
That's my favorite part with Slapjaw. It's like, or Jerry will usually come over after shows. He's like, thanks for letting the old guys have some fun, man. And I'm like, nah, you guys are showing these motherfuckers what they should be aiming at.
Ashley says it's going to be epic. It is definitely the Scranton EclipseFest is definitely going to be epic if you want to pick one word for it. Let's see. Dave also says thanks for the props. Brandon, we were just talking about him. Wait, he could say fuck? Yes, you could say fuck all you want on the NEPA Scene podcast. Fuck all day. You can say fuck. Yeah, we can even have people just walk in and say fuck. It's cool.
Yeah. Just a disembodied voice.
We always advertise the uncensored part of our show because there's so much local media and not a lot of them have the ability to kind of do what they want to do or talk how they actually talk when you talk to them outside of their job. So it's freeing to be able to do that. Let's see. Tyler, who we just had on the show with the Holtzman Effect, says, love you guys.
Another great band.
Brandon disagrees, though. He likes Spotify over YouTube.
Hey, and that's the thing, too. I'm not knocking Spotify, because Spotify is honestly it's seamless and it's easy. Like, if you're listening to it on your laptop and you go to, like, a smart speaker, that's very fluid. It's fluid as fuck. So I can't knock on them. I used it for years myself, but curiosity perked the cat. And I was like, what the fuck else is out there?
Brimstoner says A. I'm assuming that's a A. Brandon says, Rich, you're always up front taking the hits for the shots. Give yourself credit. Okay.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, give it up for Rich. You be and they're like right in that corner sometimes, and I'm like, oh man, he's gonna get knocked over.
All the time. And thank you.
Yeah, better yet, give it up for Rich for giving a fuck. Like that was one of the things back. It was one of the first. I think it was a write-up or interview we were talking about, and it was just
Very early on, yeah.
Same thing with the music scene. Just give a fuck because it audiates.
Right. Well, that's I think I gave a similar speech, not really a speech, because you have like 2 seconds at the Steamtown Music Awards the one year, but I was like, it's. And I wasn't necessarily pointing at other local media outlets that are not independent, but I was saying you have to actually give a fuck. And there's just so much, so many articles and things that are out there from other media, and it's great that you guys do that, but it's not really helpful if the writer isn't really interested in the topic, or if they're pumping out the same article, and if you could just take out the band name and insert a different band name, and it's the exact same article over and over and over again, because they're asking the same 5 questions. It's a 5-minute phone interview. They're banging it out, they're hanging it up, and they're on to the quote-unquote real news. That's not arts and entertainment coverage. It's just not. So
thank you for doing everything that you do.
I appreciate it. So yeah, we'll definitely be out for this. I haven't been to the Moon Tavern in a long time, so should be super cool. I hope you guys will give that a shot. If you're a fan of metal music, hardcore music, anything heavy, you guys should definitely come out to this, because if you don't, then we don't see stuff like this happen in the future. So I think this is definitely an exciting show. It's something different that people can check out. Like you said, it has so many different aspects to it.
And I feel like we haven't had anything like that in a while, with like just the alternating stages. I like even the stuff with most for Traverse, I usually try to tie everything into like some sort of like theme or kicking back to something like that. So like, since we just had the Eclipse on the 8th, and the venue's name is the Moon Tavern Ballroom, I was like,
totally works.
That works too great. And then we're doing the 2 stages, so we're like, I was at work with the guys, and we're spitballing a couple different ideas for names, and then it just clicked, and I was like, we're gonna do the solar stage and we're gonna do the lunar stage with the sun and the moon. I'm like, yeah, that's just all. I love tying shit like that together. But yeah, Scranton EclipseFest, Saturday, April 20th. All ages, 11 bands, 2 stages, all one night. Doors are at 5 p.m. Bands are going to start at 5:30. I'll try to get that little bit of leeway space, because I hate when it's overly brimmed booked like that, where it's like, doors are at 5 and your set's at 5:05, and it's like, cool, these people are still fucking checking their IDs, and we're like trying to like, all right, if you could hear us out there. Like, there's been shows we've done where it was kind of like that too, where it was like, yeah, you guys play at 5:10. Well, what time are doors? 5 o'clock. And it's like, why? Why? But I try to emulate that. So honestly, like, if there's a line out front, I wouldn't even be opposed to like just getting people in there earlier, because I don't want a band that's playing earlier, like Hang In There or Brimstone, or they're going to open off each stage. I don't want them to feel like they got shafted just because we were taking too long letting people get into the event, you know?
Right.
So that's something, as long as the guys inside are ready, it's like, fuck, if there's a line like 4:30, 4:45 or whatever, just like start loading them in, because then they actually might get a few minutes to like hit the merch tables, grab some food before the event starts. Because we'll have the 2 stages, and then the whole middle section is going to be like a little sit-down / picnic area for the older patrons, or you just ran around the mosh pit, you want to sit down for a minute. Like, you have that, because we're talking about the one show, and the guy, Eric from the Moon, was like, yeah, it was a little longer. You could tell towards the end, people are like, fuck, I just want to sit down. And he's like, so we're going to have ballroom style, VFW style. There's going to be actual chairs against the walls. So like if you want to grab a chair, just go grab a chair and sit down and watch the show. But like, put it back, please. But yeah, doors will be at 5. We're gonna kick off music at 5:30, and that's gonna run till 11:30. And then everyone is invited. It's the Moon Tavern because it's part of a hotel complex, I believe. Even the tavern upstairs would be all ages, and we're gonna take the after party up there. We'll do like karaoke, some DJing. We'll have pool tables. They have the dartboard. Just place for everyone to like relax, grab some food and whatnot. But 2 stages, 11 bands, 1 night, and a hell of a lot of planning, working.
Well, congrats, man. I can't wait to see it all come together. We'll definitely be there for some coverage if that's cool with you guys.
Please do.
And so we'll see you there. Thank you so much for tuning in to the NEPA Scene podcast tonight. If you enjoyed the show, please like, please share, please do all the good algorithm things to get this out to more and more people, to spread the word about this show, spread about the word about what NEPA Scene is doing here. And we will see you here next Wednesday. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Don't you